Alright boys, let's talk about some not good teams. Also, there's a sponsor in this vid. And for this, I don't really want to get caught up too much in the tanking stuff. This is more of big picture convo stuff with these teams. And when we get to the lottery 2 months from now, then we'll start to do the how certain prospects fit with certain teams, all that stuff. And also, this is not going to be about every team that is below 500. For example, no Mavs, no Sixers, no Suns. There's just not much more to say there. Anyway, I would like to start with the Pelicans. Zion's been great lately. I'm sure you've seen the stuff about his weight being the lowest in a while. Yeah, he can still pull out just wild bursts of speed or verticality, man. It feels like a lot of his work is starting within the three-point line. Face-ups, ISOs, you get it. Any sort of DHO you want to run with him within the three-point line feels really hard to guard. Any off-ball set with him catching it on the move, same thing. Really, the questions are, number one, obvious, will he stay healthy? Two is, can he get back to the calculator breaking efficiency that he had in his second season? I mean, that second season, 27 a game, 65 true shooting, just crazy, which he has not been that far away from the last 15 games. Yeah, he's got the weird contract, but I think they're just going to keep hoping he's healthy. If we can go on to Trey Murphy now, it's a lot of threes, but there have been more drives, there's been more finishes, and it does feel like Trey Murphy is able to get just enough sort of physicality or defenders on his back or able to bump guys as he catches and drives. There is still an uprightness to his drives or like a stiffness at times. Now, I do think there's also moments where like he's able to like be a little more shifty than he was a few years ago. So the signs are there, but like he's going to have to keep improving at that stuff, and he's going to get better at threes off the dribble. But overall, yeah, Murphy looks really good, and this was part of why the Ingram trade kind of had to happen. Like I've been saying it for years now, the best version of the Pelicans is Zion, Murphy, and Herb Jones on the court together. Your starting five next year is most likely DeJounte, Zion, Messi, Herb Jones, and Trey Murphy, which does put CJ in an awkward spot, but I do think that's still the best five they could put out there. But I think CJ could still play a lot because Murphy and Herb especially are pretty interchangeable, and also CJ could do some point guard stuff. If you wanted to sell me on them trading CJ this offseason, I would listen. Besides that, I like Olynyk for them. Bruce Brown, we'll see. And then Messi just has to keep improving on his passing and his defense. Let's go to the Hornets. They've had a lot of injuries this year. Let's talk LaMelo. You know how talented he is. You don't need me to go over specific plays. I know what the efficiency is, but 25, 7, and 5 is no joke. And based on the most negative opinions I've seen of him on the internet, I may end up being a LaMelo defender while still acknowledging, like, yeah, 53 true shooting is not good enough. His finishing needs to get better. Some of the contested threes are just too wild. It's also kind of funny that he's among the league leaders in fouls per game because everybody else up there is like a big guy or Dylan Brooks. And for as crazy of passes that he can pull off, there is another level of sort of possession to possession dissecting a defense that LaMelo needs to get to. And in a better situation, he would have been healthier the past couple of years, although that is also a fear with him. But also, he would not have to do as much for this team on offense. Still a lot, but I mean, he's got a 36 usage. Like, that needs to get lower. And I do like some of the plays where sometimes he'll like be a screener off the ball or he'll like relocate off the ball and then catch it on the move and then get into something. As far as Brandon Miller, who only played 27 games this year, but still 21 a game, 54 true shooting in your second season that got cut off pretty early. Better shooter off the catch than off the dribble. That's normal. The biggest thing for Miller is going to be putting on weight and learning how to play through contact, not just from finishing at the rim, but also getting to the rim. If it's not that, then he has to become amazing at shooting off the dribble. And I think putting him in as many off-ball sets as you can is probably a good thing. Before we talk about the next team, this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. The next Celtics home game is against the Nets. And if I wanted to see in person Jordi Fernandez draw up a defensive scheme to try to slow down the Celtics, because of course I would want to see that, who wouldn't, then I would use SeatGeek as I have many times in the past, and it's always been a good time. And you can use my code FUNKY10 for 10% off your next tickets at SeatGeek, and that is whether you are a new customer or not, no matter how many times you've used SeatGeek in the past. SeatGeek rates deals on a scale of 1 to 10, so look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. And of course, you can use it for many things, whether it's any NBA game or sporting event or concert or music festival, a bunch of things, whatever you want. And you can use my link in the pinned comment as well as the description of this video. One more time, Funky10, 10% off your next order at SeatGeek, no matter how many times you've used it in the past. Look for the green dots. Link in the description as well as the pinned comment. Good stuff. And then we go to Mark Williams where he's going to grab rebounds, catch lobs, and make his little book shots and floater stuff. It's mostly just being healthy. Now let's go to the Blazers. So since January 19th, I believe it is, the Blazers are 5th in defensive rating. Sure, they've lost 5 in a row. It's possible that they're already falling back down to earth. But even so, like in their last one against the Knicks, yeah, the Knicks made shots in that fourth quarter, but there were still good possessions where it was like between Klingon, Denny, and Kamara. It was like two of those guys were going to end up on the ball, whether it's in the post or on a screen, like on Cat or on Bridges, and then the other one was going to end up as a help defender, and they would be like interchangeable in the same play. Also got a kick out of some plays where Klingon was playing so far off of Josh Hart. I was like, this has to be disrespectful. Speaking of Denny, I think the Blazers are very, very happy with that trade. I mean, it was the 14th pick in Brogdon. Now let's get to Scoot. Scoot has just been a better player this season. More efficient, turnovers are down. The three-point improvement is pretty wild. But I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm looking at with Scoot is always the finishing. So his rookie season, he shot 47% in the restricted area. This year, he's up to 53%, but he's also up to like 56% if you go since like January. And to look at his recent game against the Pistons, where he did not shoot well overall, he shot 4 for 14, but there's more than one play where he gets by a SAR, and one time he airballs a floater with Duren contesting it, and another time he jumps off of 2 feet in the paint and then switches hands in midair to get by a Duren contest. And that is the Scoot that we're all hoping to see all the time. He's going in the right direction, man. And then we have Shaden. Finishing as well as pull-up twos have been good. I mean, 70% at the rim, 46% from mid-range. And with how good of an athlete he is and some of the drives and the moves he can bust out to get by defenders and double clutches around the rim or whatever, like, yeah, he could pull off some stuff that has you thinking, oh my God, this dude's potential is insane. But he is basically a neutral assist-to-turnover guy, and he has taken some tough threes this year. And then there's Simons. We know what Simons is. He's a good scorer who is not capable of being the centerpiece of a good offense. That's okay. And he's got 1 year on his deal after this, so we'll see what happens. Similar thing with Ayton. Now the Raptors. We know the plan next year with Ingram is to try to win games. Let's talk about Emmanuel quickly, who now has 25 games under his belt this season. He's got shots off the dribble. He's got shots where he's flying around off ball, multiple screens, catching it on the move. Some are a foot or two behind the line. Some are good shots. Some are not as good shots. That's all fine. The percentages so far are good enough, and also his assist turnover stuff has been efficient, which is nice. The floaters have been cool. There's quickly. And the Raptors. They will really appreciate his movement and shiftiness next year with a Scotty, RJ, Ingram thing. I have seen some people wonder if they might trade RJ. I don't know. Now we go to the Bulls. So I don't want to oversimplify how Josh Giddey has looked lately, but it really is as simple as the drives have been good and the threes have been good. He is more confidently driving into space. He is inviting contact and kind of bullying up guys, including some drives on Derek Jones in the Clipper game where I was like, wait a minute, what's happening right now? Unfortunately, he did just hurt his ankle, and there doesn't seem to be a timetable on that right now. And now we've got extension talk this offseason, and part of me is like, okay, front offices would say, well, we're very encouraged by this stretch from you, but also you've got the track record of your whole career and also before this stretch this season. So we're going to try to do this at a bargain. And there's a decent chance they still do that. But then I'm like, well, it is this Bulls front office with Karnisovas. Would it surprise you if they overpaid on the extension? Besides that, Trey Jones is good at basketball, and we got Buzelis, who is showing some signs here, man. Between his 3-ball, which, side note, I like how high his release is. I don't know why. Some throwdowns in transition. We got backdoor cuts, some for lobs, and then we've also got some really confident just moments, like breaking down KD off the dribble into a contested 3, or some really just kind of physical, tough drives on like Mathurin or Siakam or like Dean Wade or Max Strus or Jared Allen. Next up, I will try to find the positives in the Jazz. You can win games right now with Walker Kessler as your starting center, but the team around him, especially on the perimeter, needs to do better. And also, Kessler's not a perfect player. Obviously, there's a ceiling on what he can be offensively. That's fine. Do I find myself concerned about Markkanen after this down year? I mean, no. Maybe I should be, but I'm just not. You got Keontae. In his rookie season, I just kept on saying the word flashes with him. Like, you saw the flashes of, like, contested shot making and all that. We'll see if he's efficient. I don't know. Then there's Isaiah Collier, where Collier did have a really encouraging stretch, maybe about a couple weeks ago now, where 13 a game, the playmaking was really efficient, and he can make passes. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to get to the point of, like, let's run 1 million Isaiah Collier pick and rolls per game. A lot of that's going to be if he can prove to be, like, a really good scorer on those, and he's got to also get the turnovers under control. But he can certainly drive, he can make plays for guys, so that's good. And then you've got just a smorgasbord of young guys where Filipowski, skilled big guy, can put the ball on the floor, can drive in the half court, can push the ball in transition, can shoot. That's cool. Then you've got Sensabaugh, showed some signs as a scorer. Cool. And Cody Williams just didn't do a whole lot this year. Taylor Hendricks only played 4 games. That was a pretty rough injury. Hope to see him next season. And then you still got Sexton and Collins, where are they going to be on the Jazz next season? I don't know. Now let's go to the Nets. Jordy Fernandez is good. Fan base loves him. Last game against the Lakers, they're putting 2 to the ball on Luka, and they're not getting killed all the time on like layups and corner threes or whatever. Against the Cavs, no Donovan Mitchell, but the Cavs are still really good without Mitchell. Also, no LeBron in the Laker game. Doubling Garland sometimes, doubling Mobley in the post sometimes, all the right rotations and communication off of that. 22 wins, but they've also had like 10 to 15 losses this year that were within 5 or 6 points. Cam Thomas missed a bunch of the season, and I have no idea what this roster is going to look like in 3 years. But apparently D'Angelo Russell really hopes he's part of it. We'll see if Cam Johnson and Claxton are on the Nets in like 2 years. Next up, the Wizards. I would say for me, the 2 biggest things with the Wizards this year were they got Jordan Poole mostly back on track, and all the signs that you were hoping to see from Alex Sarr defensively have been there. After that, it's a bunch of we'll see, man. I mean, I still love Koulibaly's two-way potential. His finishing is legit. His drives are good. It's just going to come down to the 3-ball. And early in the season, it looked like that was happening. Keyshawn George, similar thing, takes a lot of threes, got to make threes, gets deflections like that. And for Alex Sarr's offense, I will say there was a recent game against the Jazz where he was going at Filipowski a bit, inviting contact on drives, or he was killing him on pick and pops. Kessler was not playing in this game. And it was a snapshot of like what it could look like one day with Sarr in the half court. And then as far as Poole, I mean, you've seen a bit of everything. You've seen tough shots. You've seen some 2-man game with Sarr, some shifty ball handling, some times of, oh, Jordan, please don't shoot that. Oh, he shot it. Some times where it's like, oh, he's clearly not a point guard. But overall, again, I mean, 58 true shooting, even if up and down, sometimes game to game still. Overall, Jordan Poole, he's back on track. And then there's Bub, where he's either going to get really good at making shots off the dribble or he's not, because I don't know if the inside stuff is ever really going to be there for him outside of like floaters and evasive layups.